Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I've been doing a little bit of thinking over the last day or so not for too long, but I've been thinking about different ways to change up my channel a bit, and I think I've finally come up with a way that might be more interesting for you guys to watch, because I kind of feel at the moment like I'm doing the same tutorials over and over again and doing the same adjustments, and everyone is probably getting bored by it at this stage anyway. So I was trying to think of different ways to make my channel more interesting, and I sort of came up with this way through watching some beauty videos on YouTube, and they have this thing called chat with me or get ready with me kind of thing. So I had a thought. Don't ask me how I came to this conclusion with photography and Photoshop, but I thought about doing something similar like that, but with Photoshop, with editing. So I could do videos where I'm editing photographs, and you guys can watch me do that. And in the meantime, I can kind of just talk about stuff to do with photography. So everything's kind of photography related still, but I'm sort of answering questions while I'm editing. I feel like it might be a bit more of an efficient way to do that than just, answering comments on YouTube when I can. I think it might be a little bit more in depth when I'm answering questions while I'm doing stuff like this as well. So, and it's a little bit more relaxed. It's less tutorial like. I will still be doing more tutorials on like start to finish edits. But I figure this is kind of a way for me to get them up more regularly, because I don't have to do as much editing post-production for the videos. So I can kind of just, make it more relaxed and hopefully get them up more regularly. If you're not really interested in watching me edit and listening to me ramble on for 20-30 minutes, then maybe this probably isn't the video for you. But I kind of feel like I haven't shown any of my real views on Photoshop or photography or anything really so far. I've just been doing very separate videos, certain information in each of them, and then I haven't really shown, a different process or told you guys my thoughts on certain things, and maybe this will make it a little bit more personable. So anyway, I'm going to get on with editing this photo. I am going to try and do these edit with me's, so a little bit more with recent photos, hopefully. So this isn't a very recent photo. This was from probably about 3 months ago now. But in future, I'm going to hopefully do more photo shoots, and then while I'm actually editing my photos from those photo shoots, I'll do these videos. So it's a bit more current. But I haven't really done a photo shoot in a couple of months, or not a couple of months, sorry, like a couple of weeks, because of the holiday season and everything. But this particular photo shoot was with a Priscilla's model, which Priscilla's is like a big modelling agency in Sydney. And I do quite a few test shoots for them here and there. So I was working with this girl, and she was actually so good with modelling, and we had such a fun time shooting. It was just so easy to work with her, and it's always good to get, girls that are easy to work with. But yeah, I'm not going to explain everything that I'm doing with editing these images. You guys can just kind of like watch and see me sort of play around. I'm actually just currently in Camera Raw at the moment, so I'm just putting it through Camera Raw before I go into editing in Photoshop. But yeah, this is just a random photo that I've picked really, because I never really edited this photo. I think it was kind of just one of the shots that didn't make the final cut, but I still kind of like it, so I'm just going to work on this photo today. But anyway, if you guys want me to talk about certain topics related to photography, definitely list them in the comments section below, because I can do that in my next video. But I can definitely do that, and I'm just going to have a look at some of the sliders here. This is what I do every time I get into Photoshop and Camera Raw. I just kind of like play around with everything. It's so boring for people to watch, but maybe if I talk about certain topics while I'm doing this, it might make it a bit more interesting. So I'm constantly asked all the time, why don't I use Lightroom, and why do I use Photoshop all the time? And there's a couple of different reasons why I don't use Lightroom so much over Photoshop. I guess for me, because it doesn't really work that well, and it's not because I don't like Lightroom. I think Lightroom has a lot of benefits, but for me personally, for a fashion photographer, I think that it's just not versatile enough. And my current thoughts on Lightroom is that it's kind of like a quicker, easier option over Photoshop. So Lightroom is a good option, I feel, for people that like to do wedding photography, and pretty much any form of photography that's going to leave you with a lot of photos to edit. So events are a big one as well, but definitely weddings and maybe family shoots or just anything like that. I think it's great because for batch edits, it's fantastic. However, for fashion photography, like I was saying before, it's just not really that versatile. And especially for skin editing, so skin retouching, it's such a big part of fashion photography. And I feel like Lightroom just doesn't offer enough in that area. And it's a problem because fashion photography is a lot of the time very based on skin retouching, especially with beauty shots. That's one of the main tasks that you need to do with those photos. And Lightroom only has a few tools really that you can use, and they're kind of destructive to the photographs. So because Lightroom doesn't work with layers so much, the skin editing that you actually do in Lightroom can be destructive to the photographs. So that's one reason why I don't use it very often. And I mean, I'm pretty biased, I think, in a way, because I've been using Photoshop for, oh God, like over 10 years. How old am I? I'm like 24, I think. So yeah, I've been using Photoshop for about 10 to 11 years maybe now, and I did teach myself to use it initially, and I have been using it for a long time, so I think that makes me a little bit biased on why I prefer it over Lightroom. But it's really what I'm comfortable with using. Photoshop is, definitely something where I've tried to perfect my skills in it, but the thing is I always learn something new with Photoshop. Like every day people will say to me, don't you know you can just do this, or don't you know you can just do that, or use this tool, or do you know you can do this with a photo, and blah blah blah. And I feel like I'm like, no, like I still don't know everything about Photoshop. That's how in depth it is. And I think Lightroom is probably not the same in that sense, because I don't think there's as many tools that you can use within it. Like I said, for batch edits for weddings, I can see that it would be so helpful. I mean, like I said, I do use it from time to time for stuff like that, but the majority of what I do is fashion photography, and I need to be using Photoshop for that, specifically with skin retouching. So, yeah, Lightroom is still great. I mean, there's like great Lightroom presets and everything that you can download, but I feel like everything you can do in Lightroom, or most of the things that you can do in Lightroom, you can do in Photoshop as well. It might just take a bit longer. But as I said, I'm kind of used to it because I've been using it for so long. Yeah, I prefer to use it, prefer working in layers all the time, and yeah, it's just how I prefer to work. But another question, actually, that leads me to another question, is why I don't upgrade to CC with Photoshop. And there's a pretty simple explanation for that, and that's pretty much just because I feel I don't need to. I don't feel like there's that much that CC is offering me personally. There's probably a few things that would be beneficial, but to me at the moment I feel like it's just money wasted. I don't have a problem with CS5. I find it works well for me, and it has all the tools that I need for editing photos. And actually, just from using it the other day, CC, because my boyfriend does have it, I noticed that there was a couple of things missing, like recovery and things like that in Camera Raw, and I don't know. I don't like that because I guess I'm so used to using CS5 that I like the tools that it offers. And for me to change now, it's just, I don't think it's worth it. I'm probably not going to upgrade unless I absolutely have to. That time might come in the next few years, I'm not sure. But as far as I'm aware with CC, you have to pay on like a monthly basis. So I don't really have the money to go spending on, like, I mean, photography is expensive as it is, right? So, I mean, us photographers have a pretty expensive career or hobby or whatever you want to call it, but it's expensive enough with the lenses that we need to buy and memory cards, batteries, just everything that goes along with photography. Clothing, if you're a fashion photographer. I feel like a lot of fashion photographers need to buy clothing for shoots. So, yeah, that's why I don't want an extra expense in having to pay for it monthly or yearly or whatever it is. But unless I find that I really need to upgrade in future, I'm probably not going to at this stage, because I'm happy with working on CS5. Yeah, I don't really have a problem with that. So that's exactly why I have not upgraded yet, and don't plan to for a while. So I'm just doing some skin retouching at the moment, and I mean, like I said, this isn't stuff that you can really do in Lightroom, which becomes a problem if you need to do it. So I'm going to start some dodging and burning now. Oh, actually, I'll just touch up legs. Matilda has amazing skin, so there's not really much skin editing that I have to do here, which is great. So just touch that up. Just a bit of a shadow there. I might have to dodge that, but I'm going to start some dodging and burning now. Okay. So another thing that I get asked a little bit is, do I get nervous on photo shoots? And the answer is sometimes. It depends. It depends on the shoot. I feel like for test shoots, not so much. I don't feel like I get overly nervous anymore. Believe me, when I first started out, it was all I did. That's all I ever stressed about was photography and test shoots, and oh my god, was I going to do a good job, and what if they don't like me, and what if they don't like my work. And it's like this horrible feeling that you have when you're first starting out, I feel. But I think after a while you kind of get more used to it. I feel like I'm used to it now after it's hard to say how long I've been doing this, because I've been shooting since I was about 15 with a SLR, but shooting professionally for about 5 years now, 5 to 6 years. So I get nervous on jobs where I'm being paid quite a bit of money. That's pretty much the answer. Like, and if I feel like it's a little bit out of my comfort zone, but they still want me to photograph, that's always a little bit worrying for me, because I might say to people, well, that's not really what I do, but they're still keen as ever for me to photograph them in a certain situation, or, like a different genre of photography. If I'm not comfortable with doing it, then that's when I start to get a bit nervous. But, I won't lie about it and say, this is what I do all the time if it's not something that I do all the time, or I make it known, because otherwise, you could get into trouble otherwise. But I don't really get nervous with test shoots anymore. I used to a lot, and particularly with agency shoots, it's always kind of, I don't know, there's an element of stress there, but I feel like at the moment I'm pretty used to it. I'm used to meeting people and just getting on with the shoot, and I think that's what you just have to do after a while. Like, you've just kind of got to take the stressful element out of it, otherwise, it can ruin a whole shoot, just being stressed over silly stuff and for no reason, really. And I think you just sometimes have to try and act confident. Even if you don't feel particularly confident, you just have to be confident and let the people that you're working with know that you know what you're doing, and that you can do it well, and that you'll get good shots no matter what. And it's probably just a good way to be, I think. Like, at first, I was very, very, very shy. It took me so many years just to photograph other people, because I was so shy. Like, I used to do a lot of self-portraits, and I used to post them on DeviantArt, and that was the only thing I was comfortable with doing because I couldn't physically go and ask someone to photograph them, or I didn't get it onto Model Mayhem or anything like that until I was about 19, I think. And that's when I did my first shoot with a model who wasn't a friend. And it took like 4 or 5 years for me to actually get confident to the point where I could do that. And I still wasn't confident really when I first did a shoot with a model. But yeah, it's never a nice feeling like you kind of held back because you're so shy. But I think after a while, you definitely get used to it. So for all the shy people out there who are wanting to do something like this, just do it. That's what I just really got to a point where I was like, no, okay, this is silly. I can't not do what I love because I'm shy or I'm nervous or, I constantly feel this way. I just need to get over that. And that's kind of why I'm photographing today, I think, because otherwise I probably just wouldn't have gone ahead with it. I would have chosen a different career path. And it's pretty weird to look back on that now, but I think it's just something that you have to say to yourself if you're feeling that way. And it's pretty nerve-wracking too when you think about it, like when you're meeting new people and you're meeting models, and especially if you're working with people that are a little bit more experienced than you, that's always kind of a bit like, oh my god, okay, what do I say to you and how do I talk to you? And like, you just got to be as relaxed as possible. I find the best way for me starting out was to work with people that were kind of on my level, like that hadn't had as much experience in photography or makeup or modeling. It was just the best way to do it because I feel like you could relate to them more. You could talk about like studying if you just finished studying or if you were still studying, and talking with more experienced people about that kind of thing doesn't seem to work as much because like a lot of those people have studied years and years and years ago and they're more experienced, they're more knowledgeable on certain things, and it can become a little bit scary. And it was scary for me the first few times that I did agency photo shoots because, I mean, especially with, bigger agencies, you're kind of like, oh my god, like, you always have that kind of thought in your head, like, oh my god, what if they don't like my work? And it sucks because that can and I feel like everyone's their own worst critic. So when they're looking at their work, they probably see the worst, and yet it's probably not that bad in reality. So sometimes you just need to make that jump and just, not think about stuff too much and just do it. Okay, so I'm going to bring this dodging and burning down just a tad. Let's see a before and after. So that's a bit better. Still a little bit more polished. This is annoying me. I'm going to get rid of this. That's what I'm going to do. I'll save this as a PSD. I'll just save that. And I'll flatten. And we will create, and we will get rid of this ugly thing in the corner there. I'm probably the worst person to learn from on Photoshop. Just saying. I know that's like a horrible thing to say, especially when you have a photography and Photoshop channel based on tutorials. But I do things the long way around. So if you're like me and do things the long way around and want to learn from me like that, then that's cool, because that's kind of how I do things. There are a lot more quicker ways to do things in Photoshop, but I don't know, I just never really learnt them. Everything I pretty much learnt is self-taught. And unfortunately, I just never really got around to learning a lot of the quick keys and things like that to make my life easier. So yeah, that's why people are probably watching my channel sometimes going, you can just do something else to make it quicker. And I'm probably like, no, I didn't know that. So yeah, it's definitely something that I need to improve on. But I mean, if it gets the job done, everyone does things differently as well. So if it gets the job done, then I don't really see a problem with it. But some people are a little bit high and mighty when it comes to that kind of thing, and things should be done a certain way, and I think that's a big problem today with photographers, is that they just, I don't know, there's so many out there that just tend to have these giant egos, and it's not nice. Like, I remember starting out a long time ago, and I just felt like there was not anyone out there to help me. And that is horrible to know that, like, you're pretty much on your own when you're starting out, and there's nothing that you can really do about it. Like, and that's kind of like a horrible feeling when you feel like there's no one out there to help you, and you're kind of on your own. So I kind of think that's why I started this channel, because it's kind of nice to know that you're helping out people, and especially when people leave you comments. Like, people leave comments on my channel saying that stuff's really helped with their photography and they're enjoying watching my videos. Like, that means so much, because it makes me feel like, I don't know, I'm doing something right with my channel, when really I've got no idea what I'm doing. I just, I hope that it's enjoyable for people, and yeah, like, I hope you guys get something out of it each time I do a video. I know sometimes they can be a little bit boring, or maybe they're a bit hard to follow, but I hope overall it makes a difference in your work, and you find that you're learning a bit, because I find having a channel like this is good in a way. I wish there was more of this when I was studying, because I feel like I didn't learn a lot through Photoshop. I didn't learn anything really to do with fashion photography. I just didn't learn enough of when I did my course. It was so generalized, and it's very lucky that I had taught myself to use Photoshop before I went to study, because in the earlier years when I was studying, people in my class were struggling with Photoshop because the teachers just weren't, I don't know, they weren't explaining things too well, or everything was very much fast paced. Like, people couldn't slow down. There was like a new topic each week, and people were expected to keep up, and it's hard when you've never known how to use a program before, to just be expected to keep up. And that's kind of how it was, which was frustrating, I know, for a lot of the students that were in my class. So yeah, I kind of feel like videos are good to learn from, because you can go at your own pace, and I think that's what a lot of people need, especially if they've never used Photoshop before, because it's a big program. There is so much you can do with it, and like I said, I still learn things every day with Photoshop. So it's nice when there's resources out there, and you can learn from them at your own pace, and it's just good to know. Because, as I said, there's a lot of people out there as well that are not willing to help. Like, I've contacted photographers before about helping or assistant work, things like that, and they have just not been helpful at all. And I know a lot of people that are in the same boat as me, and that have contacted photographers, and most of the time they don't get a reply. And I know, like, people are busy. People contact me all the time, and a lot of the time I don't, half the time I don't reply, and then sometimes I only realize later on that I haven't replied. And actually, that just made me realize right now that I have to reply to a few emails from you guys, but I will hopefully do that soon. But yeah, I know it's hard to reply to everyone, but sometimes you do get replies and they're not nice. They're, you know, very harsh on your work, which I think constructive criticism is good, but there's a way of putting things without sounding like, you know, pretentious or egotistical, which, like I said before, there are a lot of photographers out there like that, and I'd like to think that I'm not one of them, but yeah, there's people out there that do not want to help you at all, and it's really disheartening because, you know, everyone has to start somewhere, and everyone started somewhere. So all these big photographers out there all started from scratch, and I think sometimes certain photographers need to remember that too. Okay, just working out some colors here. I hope this is interesting. I think it's been pretty boring so far, but hey, just let me know what you think, guys, and if you want something more interesting, maybe I can change it up a bit more. But I kind of felt that these were maybe a good way of just answering questions, like I said before, and if you guys don't want to listen to me ramble on, like, you don't have to. Just watch the video purely because you want to see how I'm editing, and just, if you can, follow along that way. I know I'm not really giving much direction as to what I'm doing, but it's not really that type of video. And I'm planning on doing more videos that will be a little bit more interactive, I guess, or you can see more of the behind the scenes of what I'm doing with my photography. So I'm hoping to take you along with me to a couple of my test shoots that I'm doing in Sydney, and maybe a couple of the test shoots with agency models. And yeah, you guys can see what I do behind the scenes and see that it's probably not as scary as you think doing a test shoot with an agency model. And yeah, you can see how long I have to travel, which is a good 1.5 to 2 hours away from Sydney. So yeah, that's always fun. But if that's something you're interested in seeing, then yeah, just definitely let me know, because I'm planning on doing some of those videos. Okay, I think I'm just about finished. I'm probably just going to tweak the selective color a little bit more, get rid of some of the pinks. Actually, I might even just add a vibrance and move that down. Okay, am I happy with this? That is the question. I think so. Might just up the levels a little bit. Or maybe the curves. I'm so indecisive. My editing is just, this is why it takes forever, because I'm never happy with what I'm doing. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, like, this is just a pretty basic edit. I'm going to save that as, and flatten, and we're going to run a sharpening action over that. And that needed to be sharpened a fair bit, actually, because it was slightly soft, a little bit out of focus, but not too much that it still can't be used, which is kind of good. So I'm just gonna flatten that, and then usually I would save this as a JPEG, and my work is done. So I'll give you guys a bit of a before and after. So this is the before, and this is the after. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Well, it wasn't actually a tutorial, was it? It was me talking the whole time while you guys watch me edit. So that's a little bit different, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you would like to see more of these videos, please let me know, because I should hopefully be able to get these up a little bit more regularly. Hopefully it's a little bit less editing for me to do, so you guys can still watch me edit, hopefully, and still learn a little bit. If you have any topics that you would like me to talk about, in the next Edit With Me video, please just put it in the comments section below and I will hopefully be able to add it to the list. And hopefully I'll answer your questions a little bit more efficiently now. So, but anyway, thank you guys so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you next time.